So yeah, it was rough. I was half asleep the whole time.
Yeah, it was a rough ride home, but not because we were hungover or anything. It's just more like I don't know, just exhaustion.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily like super drunk the night before or anything, so I wasn't super hungover either, but just tired from 4 straight days of just putting my body through absolute hell and not eating
Yeah.
any vegetables.
So. All right. I don't have a rundown today, so if you guys want to kind of lead us through this, lead me through this,
Pull it up
uh,
on your cell phone.
it's charging at the moment. It's completely dead.
Okay, well, whatever. You don't need it anyway. All right, welcome to another episode of Gary Williams Stole My Lawn Furniture. It is Tuesday, September 10th. A rundown today. The Orioles stink. We just lost 3 straight games. Yankees have a 1.5 game lead in the AL East. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the rest of the MLB as the season winds down. We only have roughly 2.5 weeks to go in the regular season. After that, we'll get into a lot of football stuff. We're going to talk, obviously, the Ravens Chiefs at the top. That's fresh in our minds. And then we're going to talk about the rest of the NFL slate, some week 1 results. We're going to talk about a couple surprising results, some injuries, and some players we weren't expecting to hear their names as much as we did. But yeah, of course, as we always do, we'll talk about Major League Baseball, and we'll talk about the Orioles, who are now a game and a half back, like I just said.
I think at first we should give a little rundown of the weekend. Let's recap our weekend. I know you guys saw us go live a couple times, but Brian, I'll leave this one up to you. But just before we get into that, we now have super chats available, which is kind of cool. So if you guys feel inclined, you enjoy watching the show, you can use that. And we also have memberships available now. We're going to be doing some exclusive interviews that will be released before that we won't have on the live show, but they'll come out to some of our membership viewers beforehand before we actually put it out to the rest of the subscribers. So, and you also get a discount on some apparel. So some other cool stuff helps us out, helps us get Brian up into the Stone Age.
Out of the Stone Age.
Of technology.
No, we're not
pre-Stone Age.
Yeah, we don't think you're quite to the
We're not even quite to the Stone Age. So, yeah, we just got that up and running this week, so I just wanted to give that a shout out. And but yeah, Brian, let's recap the weekend that we just.
No, we're going to recap the weekend. It looks like you got fired or you got divorced with all those bankers boxes behind you there, buddy. What's going on?
Taxes, baby.
My man. Weekend was fantastic. We all got to get together and hang out at Sean Foy's bachelor party. Great job by Brett Ritchie. I think a clap is needed to Brett for just an amazing job. Drew Burton and I were talking on the ride home. We just think Foy had a great time. He seemed like he never had a smile off of his face. So it was great to be with everybody, get to see some friends who we hadn't seen in a while, who have moved away. And we got to do a couple live shows, just kind of impromptu shows. So it was great to be with everyone. The house was great. The environment was great. We only had 1 day of bad weather in the Outer Banks in Kill Devil Hills. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun, very brutal drive home. I think my body is still recovering, but I wouldn't have traded it for the world, and I would do it again in 5 seconds.
22 rooms in this house that Brett got? Mm-hmm. They were all actually numbered like a freaking hotel. It was nuts. It had a elevator in it. That was crazy. And about 40 kitchens, it felt like.
Yeah, there were on the main floor, which is the 3rd floor, there were 3 fridges and 3 dishwashers. Like maybe 8 ovens in the house, 3 sets of washers and dryers. There's 2 more fridges on each of the other floors, multiple pool tables, ping pong tables. We had a couple hot tubs, pools. We were right on the beach. It was sick. It was like the dream bachelor party experience. And we really didn't have to leave the house. We did a couple times, but we didn't really have to.
And we went and all played golf, and there was a Fox and Friends Trump rally.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
I'm not. This isn't a political podcast whatsoever. But
No,
there was a Trump impersonator there who looked like Donald Trump to a T. We were like, what?
It was bizarre.
Drew was like, I thought I was dreaming, because I turned around and I thought Donald Trump was in front of me.
Yeah, the second day down there. So obviously, first night of a bachelor party, we're all going hard. Everyone's hammered. We wake up the next morning at 8:30 for our tea time, and we get to the course, and there's literally a full-blown Trump rally going on in the restaurant in the course. Like, not exaggerating at all. Fox News was there. There was a 50 to 100 people in there. It was crazy.
Apparently, like we get up to the front desk to pay, and the guy sitting there is literally telling a story to Brett and Foy. Like, yeah, some lady or not some lady, somebody left like shit in one of the cups out on the course with a note that said like something against anarchy against all these golfers if something doesn't stop. Like, I was only catching parts of the conversation, but it was a wild scene to walk into.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like, I'm just here to golf. Like, I don't need to deal with this stuff.
Anyway, the weekend was excellent. We had a great time. Thanks again to Brett Ritchie, and it was great seeing all those boys and meeting a couple of guys that I'd never met before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, now we'll get into the week. We'll start, like I said, with the Orioles. Just the last 3 games, we've left 29 guys on base. We're not moving runners over. We're not getting guys in with less than 2 outs. There's been no semblance of clutch hitting the last couple games. And it's late in the season. There's no excuse for this. Like, you have to be good. You have to get this situational hitting stuff down in the regular season. And we talked about this, the growing pains of the early part of the season and how we weren't worried because there was so much time left. Well, guess what? We got 17 games left until October baseball. We got to figure this shit out, because if we can't get a guy, if we have first and second no outs and we can't get runners over into scoring position and score them if we do, I don't see us going very far in the playoffs. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. And this almost seems like a team mentality. It's just, it almost feels like Earl Weaver all reenacted or redone. 2 bloops and a blast. Get people over. I mean, and you have bigger bases now. You have movement in the game. Why in the hell are we doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
There's no way. We had bases loaded twice in yesterday's game and couldn't get a runner in. It's bullshit. And the only reason we got a runner in one time with bases loaded is because somebody got walked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the stat because I looked this up like a week or so ago, and we're like, I think we're like 4th or 8th. Like, we're in the top 10 in the league with runners in scoring position, which kind of blew my mind.
It certainly doesn't feel like it the last.
Doesn't feel like it recently, that's for sure. But it's something I wouldn't have known if I didn't go look it up. I'm trying to find it right now, though. But yes, good.
We're declining at the wrong time of the season.
Yeah.
The middle of the season, okay, have that lull and understood dog days summer. This is a time where you need to be ramping up. You need to really be getting going and hitting on all cylinders. But right now, I feel like we got one cylinder, one piston firing. That's it.
Yeah, the good news, like to I guess to spin it a positive way, we do have, well, this is going to be a good word, a kerfluffle of people coming in.
Don't come at me with kerfluffle after a bachelor party. All right.
Actually, I think it's kerfuffle.
Yeah, I don't think the first L,
but yeah, the Westberg's taking ground balls, no cast on. Realistically, I don't expect to see him back to the end of September or October. I just want him as healthy as possible going into the playoffs. They're still going to make the playoffs unless they lose like every game from here on out, basically. And it's we got Danny Colomb coming back. Webb got pushed a little bit. Colomb starts his rehab assignment tomorrow. Heston Heston's already started. Mountcastle, has he started his rehab assignment yet?
No, they're expecting him end of September as well.
But really, Westberg and Mountcastle need to make sure their wrists are as healthy as possible going into the playoffs. Because if they can't swing a bat, I'd rather have one of the other guys who is closer to 100% or 100% try their luck at it.
Yeah.
Just because it's not worth them coming back and not being able to swing. I mean, they're not going to do us any good, really.
Can we discuss the defense?
Sure.
And how bad it is?
Dude.
And I'm specifically bringing up Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah. Another one last night.
It's painful to watch.
There's another one. It's always the ball he has to charge in on. And it's just because sometimes it goes in his glove and sometimes it doesn't. And it's just it's ugly, man. I don't know. We've been saying this since the All-Star break, really since the week that Holiday got called up when he had that really horrendous week where he had like 5 straight games of theirs. I mean, it's been really, really rough. The first half of the season, he was one of the better. He was probably him and Bobby Witt were the leading candidates to win the Gold Glove at shortstop. If he gets nominated for a Gold Glove, I'd be shocked.
If he's in the top 10 to get nominated, I'd be stunned. He has 24 errors in the season. I think I heard that stat yesterday on Masson. Yeah. And another thing I want to bring up is if Westy comes back, Westy's natural position when he was at Mississippi State was shortstop. Could you see a flip?
No.
This year, no, and probably moving forward, no. It would be more of a conversation for an offseason if you want Holiday or Westberg to play short. But I would say, based on how many games they've all played at their respective positions this year, I don't think they would make that decision going into the playoffs.
I can feel it in my bones that this is going to be a issue when we get in the playoffs. There's a ground ball, like 7th inning, serious situation, and he's going to just boot it.
Yeah.
There's 15. I mean, they're 15th in the league right now in fielding percentage.
I don't give a damn about the stats. I'm reading what I see right now, and I'm not trying to poke fun at you, Brooks, at all. The fielding has gotten worse since the All-Star break.
Certainly.
Yeah. Sure.
You could see Hyde last night really frustrated after I think it was 4-2 Red Sox and whoever hit a bloop off Birch Smith over the second baseman's head that scored 2 runs for the Red Sox. You could see Hyde getting frustrated, like we can't get a runner over, we can't get a hit in a clutch situation, and these guys are just hitting little dinkers over our shortstop and second base.
I feel like we have gotten blooped to death a lot recently. It's been over the past month. It's like, I mean, I've watched Burnsy make a ton of really good pitches, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how many bloops or like CNI singles or whatever are just falling in, and it's frustrating, man, because it feels like we can't buy one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I really feel like from a high level perspective, I just feel like it's a disjointed team. Either we hit well one day and we don't pitch well, or vice versa. Yeah. And the team, obviously, they all enjoy each other. They enjoy their company. Yeah. They came up together, but it just seems like it's not working.
It's just not clicking for whatever reason at the right times.
Yeah. And it's also tough having a lineup with Eloy Jimenez, Austin Slater, and Rivera and Matone and Soto, and just a bunch of guys who haven't been here all year. And just a bevy of different guys that we had to bring in specifically because we're so hurt. And I don't want to underrate that. We talk about that ad nauseum, but like we're the most injured team in baseball, especially the one the best team in baseball that's this injured, that's still performing this well. The only other team that would have an argument would be Atlanta, and the Mets just knocked them out of the last wild card spot as of today. So,
and also
look, we're staunchly in the playoff.
To give you some playoffs, or to give you some numbers on Gunnar right here, there, and this is for the whole MLB. He's got a .958 fielding percentage, which puts him 1, 2, 3.
What is that? I don't know what that means.
4th to the bottom on fielding percentage. But this is kind of interesting though. Trey Turner Ellie De La Cruz and O'Neal Cruz are all underneath him.
Well, Trey Turner's never specifically been a good defensive player, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But O'Neal and Ellie, as athletic as they are, really should be. I think the Pirates said they were going to move O'Neal Cruz to center.
They're moving him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a cannon for an arm, but I mean, that's about all.
Which worked with Tatis. Tatis was terrible at short, and then he moved to the outfield and won a platinum glove in right field last year. Wouldn't be surprised if you see O'Neal go out there and as athletic as he is, really be able to shine out there with some go. But anyway, with regards to the Orioles, look, we're a game and a half back. We got 17 games to play. 3 of them are in New York. That's really going to be the series to watch. If we can keep it within a couple games before we get to that series, which is the second to last series of the season, anything can happen, really. You take 2 out of 3 in New York, then you got 3 against the Twins. You take 2 out of 3 of those, and New York has a rough week, whatever, Just got to keep it close getting into that New York series. But right now, it seems like they are clicking and we are not. Good news, though, on the good side, Tony Taters, only the 7th switch hitter in baseball history. And this is per Ryan Kreisig, who we were on the bachelor party this week. And I got the stat off of Sarah Langs on Twitter. 7th switch hitter ever with 40 home runs in a season. Can you guys name 4 of the other 6 guys?
Switch hitters. Was Mickey Mantle a switcher?
Mickey Mantle did it 4 times.
I mean, he was, but like
Mickey Mantle did it 4 times. He is one of the 6. Frank's not a switch hitter, right-handed.
I got to soak on this one a little bit. I got to think switch hitters.
You're more than welcome to soak on it for a little bit. A couple of them are obvious. A couple of them you're not going to get.
I knew Mickey hit a bunch. I didn't know if he was a switch hitter or not. Damn.
Yeah. Albert Suarez going tonight. Dean Kramer finishing out the series versus the Red Sox tomorrow. Then we get a day off before we play Detroit on the road. And then we come home next week. Is our last homestand. 6 more home games, and they're all next week. After that, we are on the road for the rest of the season. We're going to be in New York and in Minnesota.
Pack the yard.
I'm nervous.
Keep them home field advantage.
I'm nervous about the next 5 games. We better win these next 2 against the Sox. The Sox are basically done. They have like a 2% chance of making the playoffs. The Tigers are fighting for their life and have a legit chance. I don't want to go into that series after losing 2 of 3 to Boston. Or getting swept by Boston.
You say the Red Sox are out, but they're tied with the Tigers and the Mariners, all at 73 and 71, all 3 games back at that final AL wildcard spot, which is currently held by the Twins, who we play in the last series of the year. So we're playing a lot of playoff caliber teams, and some of these teams are going to get left out. We talked to our good buddy Sean Barletta quite a bit over the weekend about the Mariners, and he thinks their season's pretty much done. They just can't score runs. I mean, their pitching staff is good enough that they get into the playoffs. They can scare some teams for sure. But it's going to be tough. 3 games back, 17 to play is tough.
Speaking of the Mariners, it still boggles my mind how the hell they lost a 10-game lead in their division.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's how managers get
with one of the best starting rotations in the league. Their bullpen is terrible, and their offense is atrocious. It's really bad. Yeah, I think most of the divisional races at this point are foregone conclusions. Other than the AL East and AL Central, it's 4.5 games or more for every division. And like I said, 17 to 18 games remaining. 4.5 games is pretty much. It's not insurmountable, but it's very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, AL East and AL Central, only 2 that really have still have fights for the division title as it plays out. Mets in the play, like I mentioned this earlier, Mets in the playoffs as of today is one of the shockers of the season for me. I thought they were going to be terrible, especially missing Kodai Senga the whole year, getting rid of Verlander and Scherzer and DeGrom in the last few years out of the rotation. They're fighting, and good for them. 1 game ahead of the Braves for that final NL wildcard spot, and I think that's going to be a back and forth for the whole rest of the season. There's really no other team in contention for that last playoff spot in the National League.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any chats coming through? Any questions?
No, not as of right now. But if you guys have questions or you want to talk about something, let us know.
We got one on Instagram from Paul Rossman. I just sent you a private message on nothing on Twitter right now.
Okay.
Private message on StreamYard, Dustin.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's definitely again, I'll say this again before we get off of the MLB because there's not a ton more to talk about with that. We got a lot of players coming back, which hopefully is going to help. And again, getting hot at the right time would be great. Adley figuring it out here soon would be great. We'll figure that out if that's going to actually happen. But with Coulomb, Webb, that's going to be a huge help in the bullpen. Hopefully Westberg and Mountie are back. And Gunnar looks like he's starting to hit again.
He won AL Player of the Week.
Looks like, yeah. Looks like that swagger's coming back there, which, I mean, could translate into fielding as well. Sometimes you just need a little confidence boost.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Let's hope that does.
We'll see.
Before we do transition to the NFL, I just got reminded by our buddy Paul. Rest in peace to Ryan Bonhoff. He was a good friend of mine, a good friend of my friend group in high school and college. Really great guy. Gone way too early, and we're really going to miss you, Ryan. So yeah, sorry that we didn't mention that at the top. Our condolences going to all of his family and friends, which I'm a part of, and really gonna miss you, buddy. It always sucks having to do this stuff, especially in the middle of the podcast, because it's awkward to transition out of it.
There's no easy segue after bringing up stuff like that, but it stinks. It sucks. I don't know exactly what the right words are at this moment, but just take care of yourselves.
Love especially out to Paul and Nick and Brad and Ailish and Devin and all of you guys who are really close with him. We love you guys, and reach out if you need support.
Please do.
Yeah, we will continue now. We're going to move on to the NFL. Week 1 is now in the books. We have seen the Monday night game, which means we've seen every team play a regular season football game. We will start with the Ravens and the Chiefs. That was the season opener on Thursday. All of us were locked in. It was the first night of our bachelor party. Some Ravens notes. Lamar finished with 273 passing yards, 122 rushing yards. He looked good. I mean, I think our offensive line didn't really give him much, and Derrick Henry kind of struggled to get going after that, good start. He had a touchdown, I believe, in the first quarter. It may have been in the first half. Biggest note offensively is the offensive line, and Isaiah Likely took over this game, and Mark Andrews got 2 targets. Do we think that is just kind of situational game development kind of thing, or do we think Likely is here and Mark Andrews is going to see sort of a secondary role here? Brian, go ahead. You're on mute.
Can't talk with the mute button on.
Sorry, fellas. Sorry. I'm going to raise my hand again. Given how bad the offensive line was playing, and from once again, I'm going to keep saying high level perspective, the offensive line was atrocious. I mean, they were just coming right through the middle. Chris Jones basically was Lamar Jackson. He could have eaten his uniform.
Yeah. Given
that situation, Andrews had to stay in the block because Likely is not a blocking tight end whatsoever. Okay. So that's to answer your question. That is my answer to your question there, Dusty. I just think we were so brutally battered on the offensive line side. Their D-line crushed us.
Yeah.
Andrews didn't have an option. That's why Likely was able to take over the game. And Bateman better step up this year. This is a big deal because they're just going to bracket Zay Flowers now, period.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, especially – unintentionally handcuffed us with the. Did we have 2 offensive line go down, and do we have any update on them at all?
If there's any update, I haven't seen it.
I don't think anybody's out moving forward.
Okay. or at least banged up during the game. I forget, but yeah, I mean, essentially, we got handcuffed with, like you said, Mark Andrews. I mean, what else are they gonna do? I mean, he's got to chip these guys. And then he's not. And if he is going out, I would assume, like, even if our offensive line was playing okay, I mean, they're going to put an emphasis on Mark Andrews. They know that's a safety net. You would think, at least. I mean, So yeah, that was tough to watch. And like you said, Dustin, Lamar played. I think he outplayed Mahomes in a sense. With, I mean, he had somebody's lap the entire game. So
you're not going to see. We talked to Sean Foy, the bachelor of the party, this weekend. We talked to Sean Foy this weekend quite a bit about Jaden Daniels and how much he was running the ball. And in comparison to Lamar, Lamar ran the ball, I think, 16 times in this game for 122 yards, which is a great number. But Lamar can't be carrying the ball that much in week 1 of the regular season. It's just you're putting yourself in too many situations where you can get hurt. And he wanted to go out there and make a play, and he does a great job of getting out of the way and avoiding a lot of hits. But that's a lot of carries on your quarterback, and a lot of carries for
a lot of carries that he didn't have a choice, but he had to do it.
Exactly. And if that's going to be the trend all year, then Lamar is injury prone thing might start coming to the surface, because 16 carries a game in the NFL is a lot of fucking carries.
Yeah. Lamar is great at what he does. He is a fumbling nightmare. And he'll probably admit that himself. He fumbles the ball a lot.
Well, he didn't fumble this week.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Did he?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was a little frustrating. And I mean, they did say that we might have some growing pains with the offensive line. Obviously we are. They're young. Did not look good against a pretty damn good defense. So, but it is, I mean, it is the first game of the year. Yeah. We're not seeing everybody's what they're going to be here. And then like 10 weeks from now, they're probably still trying to figure out who they are at this point. Everybody should be probably, because I mean, you can only see so much in practice until you get into a game situation and people start scheming you. So
very simplistic. We have a Chiefs problem. We have a Chiefs problem. We are 1-5 or 1-6 against them.
Yeah. And it's
most
the best
people
team in the
do.
league. It's the best team in the league, so most people do, like Brooks just said. Got to get the offensive line figured out. Daniel Falalele was a turnstile, and we know Chris Jones is one of the best interior rushers in the league. So don't want to, he's like a first-year starter. I think he was drafted a year or two ago, but don't want to put too much bad on his name, because Chris Jones is a great player, but you got to put yourself in front of him a little bit more than you would.
I'm sorry. He's 400 fucking pounds.
Fall down.
Just fall down. He's going to trip over you. He's
slow him down. Slow him down. Jesus.
How can he be a turnstile? I don't even think he could turn. He's not Derek Zoolander. He can't turn right. He can only turn left. Like, Christ. Just stop it.
Can you imagine what TJ Watt's going to do against this offensive line if they don't improve?
During the game, Chris Jones specifically, and I'm adamant about this because I remember seeing the play. He actually takes an offensive line or a defensive lineman and Chris Jones moves him before the snap so that he could line up directly in front of our 400-pound turnstile, and then he just bulldozed. Oh my God!
Oh man.
I mean, yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
I was watching this game, having Zay Flowers on a fantasy team, thinking that Zay Flowers must have had 15 to 20 fantasy points, because it seemed like he was getting the ball every down, and he had 6 catches for 37 yards. I don't know if I missed something, but it just seemed like he was a lot more involved in that, and maybe he just got a couple plays called back that I don't remember, because, like I said, we were doing some drinking, so.
There were a couple swing dinger passes that he got out in the flat, and then he would get like 3 yards, 4 yards. So I mean, that's why you're seeing those numbers. But he was targeted a lot.
Yeah.
But they're going to bracket him if he goes down the field because he's so fast. They're going to put a safety over the top. They're going to probably put their number 2 corner on him because they have the safety help. And then you'll have the number 1 corner on Bateman. We are receiver deficit. I didn't know Nelson Aguilar even played for the Ravens anymore. And I don't think Nelson Aguilar knows that he plays for the Ravens because he didn't show up at all.
Well, we did draft Tez Walker out of UNC, so maybe we could develop him. He was a late round kind of flyer guy. But we also have Likely and Andrews, and those are both very, very capable pass catchers from the tight end position.
We'll find out. Who do we got next week?
We'll figure it out. We are home against the Raiders.
So
if there's ever been a get right game, there's the one there. Kill.
But now we got to block
Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's going to go well.
Joe Alt, by the way, stud right tackle who the Chargers drafted this year, did an amazing job against Max Crosby. He only had 1 pressure, no sacks, no tackles.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Long arm Notre Dame Huckleberry. He is just there.
Yeah, big guy.
Master people around.
Yeah. Some Chiefs notes just before we move on. Chris Jones, we talked about, was in the backfield on every other play. That's what it seemed like, at least. Rookie first-round wide receiver out of Texas, Xavier Worthy, adds an explosive element to the Chiefs' offense. He scored a rushing and receiving touchdown. And Kelsey, 3 catches, 34 yards, didn't get targeted much, wasn't really asked to do much in this game. Do we think that that's going to be a trend? Do you think this Worthy guy is for real? Do we think Kelsey is just kind of coasting until the playoffs like he did last year? What do
I thought Kelsey was in the press box with Taylor Swift. I really didn't pay attention to him at all because all they showed was Taylor Swift every single time they mentioned Travis Kelsey.
Why? I think best case scenario for Kelsey, honestly, is to kind of lay low and let other people. I mean, take some hits off his body, and then just when you need him, or you're gonna lull him to sleep, and then he's gonna end up making a huge play.
Yeah,
these are the Gronk years. I'm making up a term. These are the Gronk years for Kelsey. He's got 2 more left probably, and he's just going to kind of coast and then just show in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Gronk did that specifically. Gronk's last year or 2 with the Patriots and his year or 2 with the Bucks. He was not as explosive as he had been in years past as consistently, but at the end of the game, if they really needed something, he could Gronk out. I think Kelsey's going to do the same thing. I think Kelsey proved that in the playoffs last year after having a quote-unquote down year for him, which was like a 990 receiving yards, that he was still the very best tight end, receiving tight end in the league when he got to the playoffs. Because
the tight end that really killed us being the Ravens during that game was, I want to say it was like 82 or 80.
Noah Gray.
Yeah. Hey, we were like, I think it might have been you, Dustin. We were like, who the hell is this guy?
Noah Gray. I think they extended him right before the season started. But I don't know. Interested to see. I think obviously the Chiefs are going to be an issue. I didn't feel like them losing L'Jarius Sneed hurt them too much against the Ravens in particular, but I think that's going to be something we're going to need to see play out over the course of the season to make a decision on. But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting them to be one of the best teams in the league, and I'm expecting them to obviously make the playoffs and make a run. So
let's talk about some positive things. There's been a lot of negative.
Yeah.
Who do you think had the best weekend at either a team or a player in the NFL?
Fantasy stock wise, Cooper Kupp, because Nakua is out, and he's going to get every target from now.
I'm saying in general, who had the best weekend? I'm going to go TJ Watt.
Oh yeah, TJ Watt. Apparently, after the game, he was talking about how he had dialed in on their snap count. He knew something. So whenever they ran some sort of snap count or they called some sort of different thing, he knew the snap count. There was a play where he got called offsides. He forced a fumble. He got called offsides, but he just jumped the play so well.
He was not offsides. Like I watched a replay on that. Nope, he just beat everybody off the snap. He was that much better at the snap count than everybody else.
Tackling the quarterback like a second into the play.
Unbelievable, man. That dude. I'll give a shout out. I'll give a shout out for a guy that I was happy to see was Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
He had a hell of a game, and it's good to see him bounce back after only playing a couple games last year and have a good game.
He made a throw that
60-yard back foot.
Yeah, like he tripped and fell and was leaning backwards and threw it up in the air, and it traveled like 65 yards in the air or something like that. That dude's a freak.
Yeah, but it's good. You're gonna be a freak, but you're gonna be a freak on a gurney because he can't. He runs into big defensive linemen. He doesn't have the ability to step out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
He can develop.
We'll see. You'll see. He might have that Andrew Luck syndrome.
Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't. And we saw it work for Cam Newton for several years. We know, his lifespan in the NFL wasn't quite as long, but he did win an MVP and take a team to the Super Bowl and go 15-1. So it's proven successful. It's just long term, is it the best thing? And he's young. He can get better. He's only played like 15 football games since high school,
which is nuts to me.
Yeah.
I'll give another shout out is to the Bears defense and special teams.
Yeah.
They played lights out. They didn't score an offensive touchdown and won by 7.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah, rough game for Will Levis. Really bad. They were winning this game. It looked like going away. Caleb Williams looked terrible. And I said before the game started, I said, why is this line only 4? Why do they know something? I thought that the Bears should have been favored by 7. And of course, it's all these new pieces on the same team and you're all trying to gel together and it's tough. We saw it with the Falcons too. And the Titans loaded up on their defense and they were dominating most of this game with Pollard and Spears running like a two-headed monster and Will Levis just Carson Wentz all over the field. And it was bad.
Oh, yeah. That's a great reference. Will Levis is the new Jake Locker, and that's the same team that drafted Jake Locker.
Man, there was a team that I was thinking about that I was super impressed with this weekend that I was not high on, and I can't remember who it was.
Maybe the Saints,
Tampa,
the Saints, or Tampa.
Tampa kicked the shit out of the Commanders.
Tampa looked great. Also the Saints did as well, but I mean, was that the Saints or was that the Panthers?
That's the Panthers. I think David Tepper, the owner, could have played better defense than some of the guys that were out there on the field.
That game was over in the first quarter. I think it was 30-3 at halftime. That game was over. That game was bad.
Real bad.
Let's talk about last night. We watched the game. Hopefully you guys had a chance to watch the game last night. I watched the whole game. I watched the Manning cast for the most part. Belichick was great.
How was that? Yeah, I wanted to ask.
Belichick was great, and then they had Sandler on, and they actually had Chris Jones on.
Oh.
But I only watched the Manning cast for the Belichick part and just a little bit of the Adam Sandler part, and then I just turned on the regular broadcast. I kind of get burned out on that kind of stuff and like to hear the actual announcers after a while. But yeah, McCaffrey got scratched late and the Jets came out and they scored early and they looked great. And then all of a sudden, this dude, Jordan Mason, stud, complete stud, had like 30 carries for 147 yards and a touchdown. Debo was great. He was running the ball a little bit.
One's fancy waiver wire open today. Yeah.
Yeah. If Jordan Mason is if you have Christian McCaffrey and you didn't draft Jordan Mason, it's your fault. But it's rough. Rough look for the Niners also, who's Jordan Mason said that he found out he was going to start on Friday night, and they didn't announce Christian McCaffrey as inactive until like an hour before the game. They're going to get investigated for that.
That's why I'm raising my hand. They're going to get popped.
Yeah.
Because you can't have legalized betting on sports now, and you're not telling your fans and the bettors that McCaffrey's not playing.
Yeah, the Ravens have got popped.
That's bullshit. I mean, it probably affected some of our friends. Get personal with it.
Yeah, it affected Vegas for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens have gotten popped for this before. I think they're definitely going to get popped. Not only was he not on the injury report Friday, they're saying that they don't think he's going to play next week either.
Yeah.
Like that, what is going on?
So they the whole offseason, they don't have to report. They don't have to report what the injury is. They just have to report that there is an injury in training camp, I believe. So they were calling it a calf because they could. On Sunday night when they announced him as out, they said Achilles. They didn't say calf.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are speculating like maybe he had like a rupture, a little bit of a strain or whatever you do with your Achilles. But we talked about this when we talked about this in the NFL preview show. It's like Durant a couple years ago. He had the calf thing, turned into an Achilles. It's scary injury.
This is why we're friends, because I was going to bring up Kevin Durant right away. I was like, this is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And we brought this up before when I forget who we were talking about, or if it was NBA or whatever. Somebody had a calf thing. I think Brian brought it up. He was like, "Remember the last time we heard about a calf thing? Ended up being Achilles."
Yeah. Kevin Durant. It was Kevin Durant in the NBA Finals.
Yeah. But yeah, Jordan Mason looks like he's really good. Obviously, they're going to need some depth at running back if McCaffrey's going to be out for a couple weeks, but they also could be just playing this really safe, especially now knowing that Jordan Mason can put up those kind of numbers. Why rush McCaffrey back if you could have a chance of having him later in the year? But fantasy-wise, this is going to be a nightmare for McCaffrey because you don't know if they're going to be splitting time the whole year just so McCaffrey gets to the playoffs healthy. I mean, this is something else.
And that's the number one pick. Also, I want to go backwards.
Glad I didn't have the number one pick.
Yeah. Going backwards, guy that had a great day, positivity, J.K. Dobbins.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
good job.
He looked great.
He averaged like 13 yards a carry, I think.
He looked great in the short and intermediate areas of the field, but if you watch the game, he had 2 breakaways that NFL running backs shouldn't be caught on, and he looked like he was laboring down the field. He didn't score on either of them.
Yeah.
Well, the man had 130 some yards, I think.
Yeah,
so I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
Just battling back from what he's had to go through. I mean, he's consistently injury prone.
Yeah.
I know he wasn't happy in Baltimore. I know for a fact he wasn't happy in Baltimore. Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah. And good for Harbaugh for getting them a victory in his first game. They went down early in the game, and then they just kind of started running the shit out of the ball.
Going back to Monday Night Football. Keep going.
Yeah, going back to Monday Night Football. I mean, there's not really much else to say. Rodgers didn't look terrible, but he didn't look great either. He looked like he was only comfortable throwing to Lazard and Wilson. He didn't really look comfortable throwing to any of the other options on the team. Mike Williams didn't get anything thrown his way. Breece Hall looked pretty good.
That D looked good.
That D line.
I mean, obviously they are good, but
that D line was getting penetration, and Breece Hall had nowhere to go on those running plays. They just had to start throwing him screens and getting him out of the pocket, or start throwing him swing passes, get him out of the center. But yeah, it was. It's not exactly what I expected. I thought the Jets would have a little bit more oomph to their offense, but I think I'm not super worried about them. I don't think their defense played very good last night, and I think they do have a lot of talent on that team. So,
well, Aaron Rodgers had to go to Bermuda for a week, right when mandatory minicamp started, and then and Brooks knows how much of an Aaron Rodgers fan I am. He looks aloof. He looks like a guy who doesn't care. I think he might run for vice president. He actually might be at the debate tonight. He doesn't. He is an absolute terror to me. He is a cancer to a team because it's all about him. He doesn't care. He just cares about himself. That's it.
I mean, that Jets team looked a whole lot better than they did last year.
Good. They still lost. And
I mean, I expect most teams in the league to lose to the 49ers.
Yeah, that's fair. But without their best player,
look,
and you have a great defense, and your offense didn't look very stellar.
It didn't look great, but it's 1 week. Let's wait. Let's watch a little bit more of the season before we go ahead and make crazy arguments.
Yeah, I'm not going to go Monday morning quarterback now, Tuesday morning quarterback on this one, but I just he frustrates me as a person.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone there. But anyway, we'll just move on, just because I don't want to have a big explosive argument on this podcast today, because I just don't feel like it. I'm
in a great mood. I'm wearing a biscuits and porn hat.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's a biscuit place that also sells porn.
You don't say.
The Rams.
Wouldn't guess that.
The Rams lose Puka Nacua early in the game. A couple of their O linemen go down on Sunday night. Stafford looked pretty good for the most part. Made a couple rough throws, but Cooper Kupp, career high 14 catches. Couldn't believe that, career high, after the season he had a couple years ago. He looked incredible. They funneled the whole offense through him. Former Raven great Demarcus Robinson actually got a bunch of targets in this game and looked pretty good as their number 2 receiver, I guess, without Puka. But the Lions were just kind of inevitable. The Rams D was gassed, and you could tell without Aaron Donald, their D line was struggling to contain Montgomery and Gibbs, and Montgomery just ran straight down the field in OT and scored and won. Their running back tandem in Detroit is great, and Laporta and St. Brown didn't really hardly do anything in this game, and they still won. And those are 2 of the best players in the league at their position. So I'm really, really excited about this Lions team and how they performed.
Yeah, I was super impressed. Obviously, I mean, I've been impressed with them we all picked them, I think, to win that division, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they look good on all facets, pretty much. And I mean, Stafford in that whole offense is hard to stop. So there was going to be points scored, but that was an awesome game to watch, though. That was a great Monday night game. I mean, Sunday night game.
That was, and it tells me that I think the Rams are pretty good. They, like I said, they lost Puka, they lost multiple offensive linemen, and they still hung around against one of the best teams in the league. Went to overtime. I think the Rams are absolutely a playoff caliber team. I don't necessarily know if they'll make it there, but they feel like a 9 or 10 win team to me. If Stafford can stay healthy, so
okay,
learned a little bit about them as
well. Yeah.
Staying in that division, Eagles-Packers was our other primetime game. It was a Friday night game in Brazil. Saquon scores 3 touchdowns in his Eagles debut. Eagles win 34-29. Jordan Love sprains his MCL. We were scared it was going to be a season ender for quite a while there. People are saying they're thinking it's going to be 3 to 6 weeks. But Matt LaFleur came out and said they're not going to put him on the IR, which would be a 4-week injury. Don't really know what that's all about, because I don't know. I'm kind of scared for this Green Bay team. If they got to win at least 2 of these games, these next 4 games against the Colts, Titans, Vikings, Rams, which are not the hardest slate of games, but not bad teams. Because if they don't, I mean, they're 1-4 when they get Jordan Love back. That's going to be tough, especially going into all those divisional matchups against the Bears, against the Lions. This is really scary for the Packers, who I think all 3 of us thought were going to be a pretty good team this year. You guys have any thoughts on this game against the Eagles or the Packers?
Yeah, I was pretty. Are the Eagles back?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You want to elaborate, or you just want to say no?
I'll elaborate. I'll elaborate. Their defensive line is fantastic. I have no trust in the captain of the ship, Nick Sirianni. One of the big things that was brought up, and I heard this on one of the pregame shows, can't remember which one it was, so because I like to give courtesy to him, but the D line specifically got like overweight, and they stopped weighing them, and that's why they got slower and deteriorated throughout the duration of the year. And Sirianni apparently couldn't control it. And we talked about this at the bachelor party. Like when Big Dom goes down, your security guard, apparently Nick Sirianni lost control of the team. It's a loss. It's a man without control at the helm. I don't think they're back. And the quarterback won't ever praise his head coach. He just sidesteps questions. So
are they talented enough to overcome, in your opinion, a terrible coach?
Yes, they are talented enough to overcome a terrible coach. But in a crunch situation, the coach makes timeout calls, clock management, all that stuff. I do not believe he has the wherewithal to do it. He looks like a man that's already walking the plank.
It's a fair point. I don't necessarily know if I agree with it. I hate absolutely despise Nick Sirianni, as I've said multiple times on this podcast. I hate his face. I think it's one of the most punchable faces I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, I don't necessarily know if he's like the worst coach in the league. And I think
no, he's not.
I think their new defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, if his D linemen are getting out of shape, I think he'll get them in shape.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to talk a little bit about the field in Brazil because Saquon was slipping all over the field. And then, of course, Jordan Love sprains his MCL. It wasn't as a result of the field. He got kind of ganged up, tackled on. But I don't understand why, if we have to have these games in other countries or wherever, there has to be standards met. It's ridiculous. Like, we should not have NFL players risking their careers on these shitty ass fields. It's a complete joke.
I agree. I 100% agree. I don't understand it either. I mean, is somebody not at least doing some kind of whatever their standards are, going down to check to make sure and give it the go ahead or not?
This is a money game. This is a pure money game. They played a soccer match on it 2 days prior, then they returfed the whole field, and then they just go. And it's a money game.
Sick. It's a money game until Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts both get hurt in that same game, and then you have a complete nightmare on your hands, and two of your best players are not playing in the NFL anymore. Like, it's so stupid. It doesn't.
And I get it. Like, I like what they're doing. They're trying to grow the game nationwide, and I get that. But I mean, like you guys said, like, there's got to be a stand. Like, you cannot have a soccer game 2 days before and returf it, and then sit there and say, "Oh, this seems like it's good to play on." When I mean, it's almost like they just turned a blind eye to it, and it's so annoying. It's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
So frustrating. Dolphins came back to beat the Jags. We can talk about this quickly because we don't have to talk about this quickly because incident before the game got more shine than the game with Tyreek being detained by police. I'm sure you've seen enough of that. We don't have to go into super depth about that unless you guys want to. Still put up 130 yards, scored an 80-yard touchdown. But the Jags were winning 17-3 and going in to score. And Travis Etienne fumbled on the 1-yard line out of the end zone. And then the Dolphins scored 17 straight unanswered in the last 20 minutes and won this game. I mean, Etienne, hold on to the fucking ball. And also, if you're the Jags and you're Doug Peterson, how many of these games are you going to fucking blow? It's just like the whole end of last year, they were winning all these games and just completely blowing them. I don't know. I mean, I think Doug Peterson's a decent coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the chopping block towards the end of this year.
I root for a man that wears a visor. And he is not producing right now.
Yeah.
No, and I don't. And would I be surprised if he is? No. But do I think he should be? No, as well, because I think that's a place where they need some stability there, and it seems like everybody there trusts him. So, and you finally seem like you got a guy like he's been a little bit of a stability for Trevor. Trevor seems to trust him. They're getting better. I don't know if I would change it. And that was kind of a freak thing too with that fumble. I mean, not a freak thing. That's not his fault. It's Etienne's fault, right? What are you supposed to do about that? I hate that fumble out of the end zone fucking rule. It kills people all the time.
He needs to bring Frank Reich in and have him be like the O coordinator.
Yeah,
because those two guys are like hand in hand.
Maybe will. Frank's free.
Yeah, what's Frank doing?
Probably sitting on a beach somewhere.
Selling white wall tires. He's going to get a call from Charlie from Major League pretty soon. Coach of Cleveland Indians.
Guardians, racist.
They were the Indians then.
They were. Bucks routed the Commanders. We watched this whole game because Sean Foy is a Commanders fan. I was also really interested to see Jaden Daniels play. He didn't play terrible. He didn't play great. He had a bunch of rushing yards. He had a lot of garbage time stuff going on. But the story for the Commanders was the defense was bad. I mean, Baker Mayfield looked like he was one of the better quarterbacks in the league. If you'd have taken somebody who's never watched a game of football and put him in front of this game, they would have said that guy's got to be the best player in the league, right? So I don't know. 290 yards, 4 touchdowns. Do we think this is more of an indictment of the Commanders' defense, or do we think this is kind of like, hey, maybe the Bucs are pretty good?
I think it's both. I mean, we all think that we all picked the Bucs to win that shitty division, but I think we were all pretty impressed with Baker last year, and he knows that he's in a great situation now with Mike Evans and Godwin and who in the running back Rashid White, whatever his first name is, but like he's got a good offensive line. Like I think he's in a good situation. We talked about him taking a team-friendly deal. I mean, that's just going to help him out, and he seems like he's happy there. So, do I think they're as amazing as they looked that day? Obviously not, but I think they're pretty good.
Brian?
I got nothing.
Okay. Houston beat the Colts and ended up being a really fun game. We talked about Anthony Richardson a little bit earlier. Scored 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. And then biggest news for Houston, Stroud still looked good. Joe Mixon had a massive debut. 30 carries, 159 yards, and a touchdown. 30 carries. This guy's been in the league forever, still getting 30 carries. Damian Pierce only touched the ball 2 times. So obviously they're just bell cowing Joe Mixon. Stephon Diggs scored in his Houston debut. I think both of these teams could be pretty good. This division has been bad for the last few years. I actually think all these teams have a chance to be at least competitive. You guys have any thoughts on this?
I mean, Joe Mixon just looks like he's still doing Joe Mixon stuff. I'm surprised that this was as close as it was. I didn't think the Colts were going to be keeping up with them this early. What did you guys think about like how CJ Stroud looked and everything?
I really didn't get a chance to watch that much of the game, so I don't have an answer to your question there, Brooks. But I was surprised at how close the game was. So if that says anything, I do not, in regards to Dusty's question, I don't trust the Titans at all. I don't trust Will Levis. I think we watched a very nice video of Will Levis the other day. It was really cool. Yeah, I don't have any trust in Will Levis. So I'm I can't believe I just broke both of you at the same time.
Yeah, that man can't last for 4 quarters. It just can't.
It might not be 4 seconds. So
yeah.
You know.
All right, let's move on. Some rough games. Let's get negative just for a little while here because we have to. Let's just talk about the Giants and the Panthers. If they should be in the XFL or the NFL. Well, the Giants look like an XFL team because their throwbacks were the ugliest uniforms I've ever seen in my life. They made Sam Darnold, like we just talked about with Baker, they made Sam Darnold look like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he was 12 for 12 to start the game. We don't expect the Vikings to be very good this year. Same with the Saints, who put up 47 on the Panthers. We don't expect them to be that good this year. I mean, what is going on in New York and Carolina?
Those 2 teams should be relegated. They should be relegated to some to the whatever the USFL, whatever the hell it's called now. It keeps changing names. They should be disbarred from ever being allowed to play football again. They are so bad.
And
I got nothing. I mean, I got absolutely nothing.
With the Giants,
they have nothing. They have nothing.
With at least the Giants, at least you can say, look, I think the coach is decent. Dable, we don't think he's the worst coach in the league. And if you get Danny Dimes out of there and get a quarterback who knows what he's doing, maybe you have a chance to win some games, especially with the talent on defense that they got. But I don't think the Panthers. I don't know what they're like the White Sox. What are they going to do? Bryce Young is awful. The whole offensive scheme there's no offensive weapons. They spent a ton of money on the offensive line. Bryce Young's still running for his life. They traded
their best
how many
player.
first rounders? Like they traded their best player in DJ Moore. I mean,
and Burns.
And Brian Burns, yeah. Like I don't. There's no positives, and their owner is a complete fucking jackass. They have nothing. I think this is going to be the worst franchise in the NFL for like several seasons.
Yeah, they have overtaken the then Redskins, now Commanders, from Daniel Snyder. They've taken over this being absolutely atrocious. And in all honesty, I mean, their owner's throwing drinks on people. They did last year.
Yep.
And their quarterback has no chance of doing anything. He's consistently running for his life. I don't even know if to blame him or not.
Yeah.
It's brutal to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, whoever walks into that situation or I mean, God, we don't know what the guys there now are going to do. I mean, they're probably sitting there scratching their head like, what the fuck are we supposed to do with this? Like,
why did they just lost their best player, their D tackle?
Yeah, Derek Brown.
Yeah,
nose tackle. Yeah.
God, he's probably like, thank God.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to take my leg off me right now and put it back on next season.
Yeah. Yeah, the Panthers suck. The Giants suck. I'm sorry if you're a Panthers or Giants fan and you're listening. Then we're really just kind of shitting on you. But look, these teams are absolutely terrible.
I invited Jay Harkinish on today because he's a massive Giants fan.
Yeah.
And he declined because he knew we were just going to shit on the Giants the entire time. Their jerseys look like the Canadians. Their pants look shit brown. I have no idea what was going on. They had Michigan Wolverines helmets. I don't give a damn if it's your 100-year anniversary of your franchise. You're terrible.
Yeah.
It's I'm at a loss for words.
Jerseys and look that bad. You just can't. You can't. Speaking of terrible, Bengals, Falcons, teams that we had expectations for going into the year. Falcons with all their new flashy toys, and the Bengals getting Joe Burrow back from the injury. Not looking good against teams that aren't very good. Bengals lose an embarrassing game to the Patriots. Jamar Chase was on a snap count. T. Higgins didn't play, so look, they're not at their full strength. I get it, but they looked really bad. They couldn't hardly move the ball. And I think Jacoby Brissett had like 120 passing yards and still won. And then Falcons, I mean, Cousins looked old, terrible, bad. The Steelers' defense is good. TJ Watt was in the backfield every down. We watched a lot of this game. And Chris Boswell is the Steelers' best offensive weapon, and they still won. Also, why was Russ in pads after being ruled inactive?
We got to touch this. We have to touch this.
This is more ridiculous than the Tyreek Hill stuff. Like
this guy is so fucking crazy. And I'm sorry for dropping the F word, but I don't give a damn on this one. What the hell are you doing, Russell Wilson? You're doing calisthenics on an airplane aisle like 2 years ago. You had an office in Denver. You're wearing pads when you're inactive. You take fake snaps on the field. You're a bum. What is happening? You're working your way into not getting into the Hall of Fame because you should be a Hall of Famer for what you did in Seattle. This is atrocious to watch.
He's got to be the most unlikable guy in the league. Like, in terms of, is he trying to be this weird? Like, what is?
It seems like he just has no gauge. Like, he has no social gauge whatsoever.
This feels like Bryson DeChambeau before, like, he figured out how to deal with people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Russ a little credit here. I know after I just went on that little tangent, when he lost his mental coach, and I forget the gentleman's name, so I apologize there, but he had a mental coach who would put him in place, and his mental coach unfortunately passed away. He started doing all this weird shit. He's on his own now. And it just seems like I guess a gauge is probably the best way. And he has no governor on how to stop it. He just keeps going and going and going. It's weirder and weirder. That fake snap count shit, the one time where he was running plays by himself out on the field pregame, so bizarre.
And it's like, he's doing that because he wants them to film him do it. Like, he's doing that for attention. You just know it. And It's just he's so weird, and I'm sure he's hired somebody else as a mental coach and all that different stuff. But like, maybe that was the difference. I have no idea. But I mean, the guy he's a weird dude, man.
A little news that just came out also, Mike Tomlin is preparing Justin Fields to start this week versus Denver. Apparently, Russell Wilson's feeling better today than he did over the weekend, but that's the only thing that says in the report. It says that they will ponder his inclusion based on his level of participation and the quality of his participation in practice this week.
I bet you.
Hey, what the hell?
I bet you the team doesn't like him, and Tomlin sees that now, so he's just like, no, I know, because he wanted to play last week. Obviously, he fucking wore his pads the whole game, but I think they're just seeing it. They're like, there's no way we can let this dude play. Like everybody hates him in the locker room. I guarantee it. That's probably. I mean, that has to be Kaboli. One of the reporters for Pittsburgh said he was in the locker room after the game and he was like sitting there pouting around after a loss. That's not good.
Yeah.
After a win. Yeah, they won.
Sorry, a win. I'm sorry, a win.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And by the way, Kaboli, we got to give a shout out to Kaboli. The man put a fucking cheesesteak in his goddamn cargo
I love
can.
that, man. I love that.
All right. But to Russell Wilson is such is narcissist the appropriate word, but just someone that's so about themselves. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And Mike Tomlin is the opposite. He is just so direct in your face. He has the great line, never say never, but never. But it's a great line. And then you have Russell Wilson, who's so passive aggressive and will tell you anything you want to hear. He sounds like a fucking robot from Grandma's Boy. Like, let's go. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. They're going to get rid of, and the Steelers have to be laughing their ass off because Denver's paying all the salaries.
I know they're gonna. I feel like this is going to turn out, and the Steelers are going to end up just cutting him.
Yeah.
That's just how it feels right now, especially since they're holding him out as Russ is sitting there saying like I want to play, and you, like I said, I think Tomlin's just like, no, nobody fucking likes you, dude.
Yeah. He seems like this is an oxymoron. He seems like a positive cancer. Like he's positive all the time, but it doesn't fit like the mold of the team.
He's corny.
He's like the guy. He's the guy who comes into like the locker room and is like super positive, and everyone's just like, "Shut up, dude!
Yeah,
shut the fuck up!
Yeah,
shut up, nerd!"
Yeah. Damn it. Definitely the guy who tells the teacher that they had homework that she forgot about.
Yeah.
He's the guy who raised his hand and it's like wiggling like this. Yeah, like I got the answer, you fucking loser.
Last game, or we didn't talk about every game, but last game I really want to talk about here. Cowboys rolled past the Browns. This game was never close. The Cowboys were dominating the whole game. I think the final was 33-17, but it was never that close. The Cowboys were in control of this the whole way. Deshaun Watson, he looks terrible. I heard this stat. I was listening to Russillo and Todd McShay earlier. In the history of the league, no player has ever attempted 10 or more passes of 15 or more yards and not completed any of them. He passed the ball 17 times, 15 yards or further, and didn't make a single completion. Zero out of 17. Really terrible. Also just got sued by another woman who's alleging he sexually assaulted her. That came out this weekend. Just a shithead of a guy. Don't really want to even talk about him that much anymore. We can talk about him if you guys want to, but fuck that guy, and he sucks at football.
If he came on this podcast, I would ask him one question and one question only. Why did you need to have 60 plus masseuses? Why?
Yeah.
That's it. And that's a very open-ended question. Why did you need to have 60 masseuses?
Yeah.
And if you can't answer that question, then you're guilty.
On the Cowboys side of the football, unless you want to say something.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is, I mean, if you're a Browns fan, you're sitting here watching Baker Mayfield run all over the place with the Bucks, and you just had Flacco that just tore it up and took you to the playoffs. And now you're back with this guy again. Yeah, I'd be fucking pissed,
dude. I want Jameis to start eating W's soon.
Well, that's what. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think Dano said,
taking a pee, guys. Be right back.
Yeah. Dan Orlovsky said, and so did Stephen A. They're like, man, I would start taking a harder look at Jameis right now after what we just saw, because apparently even to those guys, I don't respect Stephen A's opinion as much, but Dan Orlovsky is a former quarterback, and he just watched that and was like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah.
So
it was really, really, really bad.
yeah, and we said,
on the
go
well, sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. On the Cowboys side, I mean, Dak right before the game starts on another little sideshow bullshit NFL Cowboys thing, signs the richest deal in NFL history, 4 years, $240 million, $60 million a year. Most of it's guaranteed. I believe 231 of the $240 million are guaranteed, which is outrageous. But as we were discussing at the bachelor party, the Cowboys kind of had to do it, because if Dak would have left in free agency last year, because they pushed off so much money over the last few years, they would have been looking at over a $50 million cap hit, even if he was playing for another team and he walked. So Dak had all the leverage here. The Cowboys had no choice but to pay him. And I think Dak was just like, make me the highest paid player in NFL history, and I'll sign it.
And not only that, there's no backup plan, right? Like, and Dak is good enough that I think that should he be the highest paid player in the league? No, but I think he's good enough to where you're going to have to pay him, because there's no backup. Where are you going to go draft somebody and take a chance doing that?
Yeah.
Who's going to free agency next year that you think is going to be better than him? Who are you picking up that you think is going to be better than him? I just don't think there's a world where that deal was not going to get done.
Yeah. If Dak would have made it to free agency, he would have been probably the best free agent quarterback ever. Peyton Manning coming off a neck injury, maybe you can say that, but
Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady, but he was 43 years old. He's Tom Brady. I guess but as an asset, I guess, for a long-term asset, should I say? Because Tom Brady is a better player, obviously, but even at 43.
But they just didn't, like we said. So Brian, you weren't here. We don't think Dallas had a choice here but to pay Dak, and he had all the leverage in the world too.
Yeah, he had all the leverage. Jerry Jones is a moron when it comes to this one. He's not. Jerry Jones isn't a moron as a person. He's a smart man, but he gave the leverage to Dak and then let it marinate to the point that the contracts got so skyrocketed that he had to pay that number.
Totally agree with you. Cowboys.
It's them banking. It's them banking on the cap going up. And Brian and I chatted about this a little bit at the bachelor party. So Jerry Jones is the guy who negotiated these TV deals, and we've brought this up before with this $14 billion lawsuit going on. He's got to know something that we don't know, and he said that in interviews. Like he'll when he gets, however he's acting, you can probably gauge how things are going. If he's going to make Dak Prescott the highest paid player in the league, CeeDee Lamb is now the highest paid receiver in the league, I believe, or right there, top 2, top 3. I've got a feeling that it's not going to be $14 billion. Obviously they're probably going to settle on something. But it sounds like he's got a lot of faith that the salary cap's going to keep skyrocketing at a rate that like we haven't seen before in the last 5 years. And to be honest with you, that lawsuit's probably not, it's going to be a few years before that even gets worked out. So, I don't understand why Jerry doesn't restructure these guys like a lot of other teams do to help him with the cap hit. Again,
well, he did with Dak, but most of the other guys
to help them with the cap hit though.
Well, he pushed a lot of the money back, I believe, in the last couple of years.
I firmly believe Jerry is so thirsty for a Super Bowl, given his age, that he doesn't give a shit. Kicking the can down the road, he's going to let Steven just sit there and eat shit for about 10 years after he dies.
And it doesn't matter because they're significantly more valuable than any other sports franchise in the world. Like they just are. So
it doesn't matter with the cap. It doesn't matter with the cap. But
the cap situation could get ugly, but they could figure that out.
It's going to be fake. But the cap's going to be funny here, like we just talked about, and then 3 years down the road, it's going to be a whole different ball game because they're going to sit there and this looks like a huge number right now, but 3 years from now we're going to be like, oh, that wasn't that bad comparatively where the cap is now and where contracts are now. It's just
whenever Caleb Williams gets paid $75 million, we're going to be like, oh, that Dak Prescott $60 million deal was a steal.
This is not sustainable. I am so sorry. I don't give a damn where the cap goes. It's not sustainable. You're going to have 4 guys who get paid a ton of money, and you're going to have a bunch of nobodies.
But it's happening in the NBA too. But the difference between the NBA and the NFL is that in the NBA you're paying 13 guys. In the NFL you got to pay 53.
Yeah.
So
and in the NBA, one guy can take over a game and win the game.
Yeah.
The only player in the NFL, the only player that can take over a game is the quarterback. Other than that, and if you have no offensive line, if you have $100 million quarterback and you have a 10-cent offensive line, you're going to get fucking screwed.
Yeah.
See Andrew Luck. I mean, see Andrew Luck. I mean, look at it. It's simplistic as that.
One thing I did want to bring up as well is I mentioned it a little bit with just to stay in our division here. I mentioned it a little bit with the Browns and how their fans got to be kicking themselves. And remember before the season, everybody was so high on the Bengals, and me and Dustin and I believe you too, Brian, were like, hold on, let's take a step back.
Brian was on the Bengals.
I was
Brian,
Bengals.
Oh yeah, you were. Oh yeah, we were going to tattoo Bengal Tiger stripes on you. But
I was going to wear a helmet one time on the podcast too.
Yeah, they. I know they're missing and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is on a snap count, but they look terrible. I'm not that worried about them. I still think they're going to be fighting us for the division, because. And I mean, this is kind of an indictment on us too, because we thought the Browns were going to be decent. They look like shit, but I think the Bengals are going to be fine, because this is kind of like the same old song and dance that the Bengals do every single year. They always start slow, even when they have like great years and Burrow has like MVP type seasons. It's kind of par for the course on that. So I'm not going to sit here and write them off as a bad team yet.
I'm not having buyer's remorse, but what I'm about to say is going to be negative and go against what I said and how much I was behind the Bengals in our previous show. I thought the Jamar Chase stuff would get handled before the season started. Obviously, that didn't take place. T. Higgins blatantly is not happy, and I understand that part of it. And I also hate Joe Burrow's frosted tips. So these 3 things lead me to believe that there could be trouble in paradise.
So you're not selling all your shares, but you're selling a couple.
I'm selling half the shares. All right, but I'm still going to stick on the Bengals bandwagon. I'm a man of my word. I'm going.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell them yet. I wouldn't sell them yet.
Okay. Just quickly, we'll talk about just some injuries. Jordan Love's not going to go on IR. We already talked about him. McCaffrey, we talked about. Puka, we talked about. Those are really the biggest names that got hurt this week. Not a huge injury week for the NFL, knock on wood. Hopefully that continues. We hate when people get injured. It sucks. Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson sprained his MCL. He's going to miss some time. I know Brooks has him on a couple fantasy teams, so he's not going to like that news. David Njoku suffered a high ankle sprain. He's been one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the league over the last few years. He's going to miss some time, so that's kind of a big blow for the Browns, who are already looking pretty rough on offense.
They don't get Nick Chubb on the pup list, too, so they don't get him back for a while.
And then, as Brian mentioned, Derek Brown, D-tackle for the Panthers, who it's pretty inconsequential because the Panthers are going to suck, but it sucks for Derek Brown. Before we go into our final segment here, I do want to, before we forget, remind you of the switch hitter trivia question that was asked earlier.
Yeah.
And ask if you guys came up with any more names or if you just completely forgot about it. Because if not, I can just tell you.
No, let's talk. Is Acuna a switch hitter or no?
He's not.
Okay.
I will tell you, every person on this list not named Anthony Santander was 2006 or previous. Hint, hint. 2 guys in 2006.
Shit.
I pudge.
Jim Edmonds?
Left-handed.
Why was I thinking he was switch hitter?
Roberto Alomar?
Never got to 40 homers. Wasn't switch hitter, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of doubles. That guy was a doubles guy. Also, piece of shit.
I got nothing, man. I really got nothing. It's
I'll
hard to
start
figure out
giving you
switch
some
hitters.
hints. I'll start
Yeah,
giving you
give me a
some
couple
hints.
hints.
I think Astros bench coach that
Beltran.
there you go. There you go. There's one. Let's think. Stay in Astros land, and think.
Craig Biggio?
No, let's think. First
David
baseman
Bell.
who ended up with the Cardinals for a spell. This guy's only one of 2 players to ever do this twice, by the way. Got no Astros. Counting down. 3, 2,
I got
1.
nothing, dude.
Lance Berkman did it twice.
Lance
02 and 06.
Berkman.
Oh, that's one we should have got.
No idea it was switchy. No idea it was switchy.
05.
No
I'll give you his career path. Braves, Rangers, Angels, Yankees. Not sure if it was in that order.
Oh, Teixeira.
Teixeira is one of them, 2005. Probably one of the best third basemen of all time. You guys should get this. His name's
Michael
Larry.
Jack Schmidt. Larry Walker.
Chipper Jones.
Chipper Jones.
Oh, Chipper
And
Jones.
then 2
Chipper
guys
Jones.
did it in 1996. A guy named Todd Hundley, who nobody's ever heard of, and another guy who is no longer with us, who is the only MVP in Padres franchise history.
Steve Garvey?
He's no longer with us.
Tony Gwynn? He was strictly.
Caminetti?
Caminetti is correct. Ken Caminetti, 1996.
He was a switch hitter?
Yes.
No
and he is the only MVP
I didn't
in the
know
history
he was switch hitter either.
of the San Diego
Wow.
Padres, which I found out the other day and could not believe.
Shout out Ryan Kreisig joining in the watch party.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan Kreisig!
Kreisig.
What up, baby?
We were just talking about the 7 switch hitters that you were talking about this weekend. I thought that would be some fun trivia. Anyway, shouts out to Sarah Langs on Twitter. That's where I got that info. That was really cool. And we'll move right into That's a Shame. We'll do that real quick. My That's a Shame is illegal formation penalties in the NFL. There was like 30 of them called this week. A bunch of them called against Ronnie Stanley. There was one egregious one called last night against the left guard who was clearly on the line of scrimmage. It's ridiculous. These stupid ass little ways that you guys want to control games and control like what happens. I absolutely hate it whenever the NFL puts an emphasis on something and doesn't tell the public or the teams about it. And then Ronnie Stanley gets called for 3 straight illegal formations. Like, this shit shouldn't be happening. If you're going to emphasize something, that's fine, but make the teams aware of it. It's fucking stupid.
Kreisig said, "Yo, lunch break. Thanks for the hat." Hey, thanks for the trivia question, Kreisig.
Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah,
go ahead, Brooks. With your That's a Shame.
To comment on that, even Belichick came out when I was watching McAfee. He was like, were they by the letter of the law? Probably, but like that is the closest fucking thing. Like how can you call that? So my That's a Shame has nothing to do with sports. Came home from a bachelor party to find out that people had called the cops on our dogs barking because apparently dogs aren't supposed to bark. We had a complaint about one of our dogs like a year and a half ago, maybe.
Tucker or Dempsey?
Probably Dempsey because
it doesn't matter, but
people are afraid of her because she's a German Shepherd. But yeah, called the cops, and one of the HOA guys like sent us an email, and he's very nice and doesn't really care. He's just like notifying us basically that what happened. Somebody put a complaint in, but fuck you if whoever this person is.
That sucks.
Dogs aren't supposed to bark, I guess. I don't get it. So
these are like 2 of the most well-behaved and nicest dogs in the world, by the way.
Yeah.
And I know specifically Tucker is because I lived with him for over 10 years of my life. So yeah, ridiculous.
That sucks.
Fuck off. I
actually have 2 That's a Shame. I actually have 3. 1, the New York Giants. You're a sham, and you are a shame, and you should not be in the NFL. Second, the Tom Brady debut on Fox. let's get ready to ramble, buddy. All right. You can't talk over a touchdown because you want to talk about how big Bill Belichick's dick is. Like, just stop. Because he went on a 5-minute tangent, and you just hear Kevin Burkhardt go, and there's a touchdown by whoever scored the touchdown. My biggest that's a shame of the week, though, is the International Tennis Integrity Agency.
What?
A young man named his last name is Sinner, and he is a sinner. He tested positive twice for anabolic steroids. He is blaming it on his masseuse, who put apparently anabolic steroids on his cut finger and then massaged him. And the International Tennis Integrity Agency, or ITIA, allowed him to play in the U.S. Open, and he fucking won the U.S. Open.
Oh, my God.
He tested positive twice. There's no hiding it whatsoever. And he's blaming on a cut finger from his masseuse. That's a shame. Because you forget that you lost to an American. The guy could have been Swedish for all I care. You cheated someone else out of a tennis title.
Yeah. That's outrageous. I can't believe.
I have not heard that yet.
I didn't hear about that.
You have us both at a loss for words.
I don't know what to say. You test positive for steroids. Maybe you shouldn't be competing in that sport if that's the rules against it.
The IT had said it wasn't his fault. They blatantly came out and said it wasn't his fault. Like, yes, it was.
So you can just say
polygraph or something. What do you mean?
Say whatever you want.
His dog eat his homework too. Like he.
Just say whatever you want. You have a good excuse, you can get out of it.
Yeah.
And the man won a major. He probably won like $4 million because he cheated, blatantly cheated. And
God, Barry Bonds is like rethinking all of his excuses he made.
Yeah, he's like,
that was my mistake. Also, in addition to the Giants, Carolina Panthers, you are a shame. We are going to move on to our snake draft now. Our snake draft today is best sauces, and this includes condiments, dressings, any sauce you can think of. If you got a sauce, these are good. We take this very seriously, or I do at least.
I do as well, and we have to qualify. So if you take like regular mustard, honey mustard is still on the board.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. So these are obviously clearly different things, but you can't just say you want Duke's mayonnaise and then somebody else takes Hellman's mayonnaise. We're not doing that. If somebody takes mayonnaise, it's off the board.
No brands. It's got to be. Yeah. It's got to be a variation of the sauce.
The only thing that'll be brand specific is likely going to be like hot sauces, because sriracha and Tabasco are completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that. So if somebody takes sriracha, then you can still take Tabasco or Cholula or something like that.
As I start with every one of these snake drafts, I want to come in dead last. Go fuck yourself.
Let me see if we have a draft order, because it's been a while since we've done one.
I want to go last, of course, because I always lose. And I expect to lose.
Let's see. Let's do a vote count here. On my personal one, what was our last one? Our last one was quarterbacks.
Best quarterbacks. I should have won that in a landslide.
Dustin on my personal got 8-4, Brian 0.
Guys, a heads up, I have 10 minutes and then I got to roll.
We're good. We can get this done in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just shouting out again, we do have some subscription-based stuff coming. We're going to have discounts on merch.
It's here. Hit that join button if you're watching on YouTube.
We'll get ourselves a little bit more educated on this stuff as we move forward, because we are just starting it today, so we're all kind of new with it. Brooks can do it.
We are a bunch of idiots. So give us a break here.
Yeah.
Also, while Brooks is tallying up, I want to give 2 quick shout-outs to Ryan Ripken. Thank you for taking my call yesterday and giving a lot of really good information on how we can kind of continue to navigate ourselves as we go through this journey of the three of us. And then also Kevin and Zach React. I love watching you guys. I hate that fish. but I appreciate the stuff that you guys bring to the table and how you go about it. So if you guys, anyone watching or anyone that watches this moving forward, the Ryan Ripken Show and Kevin and Zach React are just fantastic. Well, one, they're fantastic people. Two, they just put out great product. So have fun and enjoy.
The filet of fish.
Give me that filet of fish. Give me that fish.
Yeah, Dustin, me, then Brian.
Okay.
Brian didn't get a single vote.
And
Shocking.
the least
Good.
good news of all time,
Yeah.
Brian
Oh.
got no
Surprising
votes.
news.
Okay. So I'm gonna start off our draft here. I'm taking mayonnaise number 1.
Give me ranch.
Brooks is taking ranch number 2. I like it.
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Strong. Look at you, Brian. You're trying.
That's good.
I don't give a shit about the people. And then second is tiger sauce because I love it on my pit beef.
I had that on the list.
Okay. All right.
Pretty strong start there from
That is
Brian.
a strong start by us, by all of us, really.
I got a feeling some stuff's gonna fall here.
That tonight's going to be a good night.
By the way, I also put Sauce Gardner on my list.
Nice.
As a person.
He is a very good sauce.
Yeah, it's good sauce.
$5 if you can tell me Sauce's real first name.
No, it is not. I know it's not, but I don't know his first name, and I've seen it before.
Just give me mustard. I mean, not mustard. Give me a sriracha.
Okay. Sriracha's a good answer. I was probably going to go there here. Give me buffalo sauce. Particularly Frank's buffalo sauce if we're doing it.
Is that like Frank's Red Hot?
Yeah, but Frank's the buffalo version of that, or you can make your own, however you want to do it. But I'm just taking buffalo sauce in general. After that, I'm going to take ketchup. I can't believe it fell this far. It fell too far.
I know I was going to take it too. Give me a Dijon mustard.
Dijon mustard in his 3rd round pick.
I am going.
Might have reached for that.
I'm going Worcestershire, however you say it. And I will also go with honey mustard.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty far for honey mustard to fall there.
Yeah. I will go. So should I? I'm going to go barbecue sauce, but do I need to specify?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Do you have a preference on like a thicker or like a more vinegary style?
Yeah,
I
like Carolina style or
You don't have to. It's barbecue sauce. You get it, but just tell me what you like.
I mean, I like it. Depends on my mood and the sandwich, but I mean, you can't just go wrong with Sweet Baby Ray's. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah, we're not doing brands, but you like a thicker barbecue.
Sometimes.
There's going to be a couple that I just really don't want to leave off here, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to take blue cheese for sure. I would have taken it in the first round, but I had a feeling it was going to fall. I'm really caught between 3 here. Give me Tabasco. It's a classic. I have to have it on my list. I have to have it on my list. I just have to.
That was literally the last one I wanted.
We could do 10 rounds of this.
Oh, without a doubt.
All right. Give me Cholula.
Yeah, I think that's a strong answer. Cholula is fantastic. Brian has to make a little bit of a different go round here.
I have to reroute now. This is I've been getting into sushi lately, so I'm going soy sauce.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Fair.
I use that
Yeah.
quite a bit. I think that's a really good one.
The last year of my life, I've been getting sushi every Sunday and soy sauce.
Nice.
Honorable mentions for me, if I can rattle them off real quick.
Go ahead.
I have wasabi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tartar sauce.
Tartar's on my list.
Duck sauce.
Ooh.
Forgot about it. Love it.
I did forget about that too.
Thousand Island dressing.
That was one of
staple.
And then my last one, and this is very brand oriented. It's the only brand I've ever seen have it, but it's called Stubbs green chili sauce. If you haven't had it, shout out to Stubbs. It crushes. It's a guy who lived in New Mexico for over a year, where green chilies are made. This green chili sauce from Stubbs is absolutely fantastic.
All right. Yeah, Stubbs is great. Brooks, you got any honorable mentions? Nobody took just regular mustard, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going mustards, you're going honey or Dijon or spicy, right? I guess
brown.
Spicy and Dijon are kind of the same thing. I'm not really sure about how we would have classified that if it came up, but there's so many aiolis that it's hard to, and that should probably fall under mayo.
It falls under mayo.
Yeah.
Like sweet and sour could have been picked.
Yeah. So I had Thai chili as a sauce that I really like that didn't get picked. Relish, any hot pepper, like hots, like you can put on a cheesesteak or an Italian. Those are
tzatziki sauce.
Real good tzatziki. Yeah, if you get a gyro, it needs that tzatziki.
I forgot about tzatziki. Good job, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I had there too.
The Polynesian sauce from Chick-fil-A, I really like.
Is salsa considered a condiment?
I don't know.
It's a dip.
I probably would have made fun.
I would let you have it.
Taking it. If you had to take salsa or guac, I don't really think they're sauces. I think they're more of like.
What about like sour cream?
Sour cream's a condiment. In my eyes, but I don't.
Yeah, I think we probably could have taken that. That might be an oversight on our.
Duck sauce. Duck sauce is.
Duck sauce is great. Yeah. Teriyaki sauce, anything like that, you could have gotten in there. But anyway, I'll run through our list real quick, and then we're going to skedaddle because our resident host has to leave. Best sauces, condiments, and dressings: mayonnaise, buffalo sauce, ketchup, blue cheese, and Tabasco is my team. Strong team. Brooks's team: ranch, sriracha, Dijon mustard, barbecue sauce, and Cholula. Also a very strong team.
Strong.
Brian, Chick-fil-A sauce, tiger sauce, Worcestershire sauce, honey mustard, and soy sauce. Also, no cocktail sauce, love. That could have got in there.
I'm not a cocktail sauce guy. I like the tartar. The only time I'll do cocktail sauce is when I have a shrimp cocktail. Only time. Before we leave, and I really do have to roll in 2 minutes.
Guys, you know what we forgot? The Papa John's garlic sauce. We forgot that. That's a big miss. That's a huge miss.
That one and
that's a huge miss.
Like the Big Mac sauce.
Well, Thousand Island, we mentioned that. That's
pretty similar.
We should be shot. I could have taken the garlic sauce number one.
To all the viewers, I will bathe myself in garlic sauce for losing this draft. That is so.
I will say, Brian, this is probably one of your better drafts that you've had.
Yeah, this is actually like you could get votes. Yeah.
But before we leave, and I really do have to jet, and I'm not trying to be a dickhead on this one. But once again, shout out to Ryan Ripken, shout out to Kevin and Zach React. Like those guys are great. But we have a young lady who lost her dad right before her wedding. His name was Richard or Rick Marks. To Rachel Marks and to Gary Pierce, I hope you're doing well. I appreciate you guys. Kirsten and I appreciate you guys very much. And I hope you guys are managing as well as you possibly can.
Yeah. Also want to reiterate, Brian Bonhoff going to be missed. Really thoughts and prayers to Paul, Nick, Devin, Brad, Ailish, all of you guys who are really close with him. Really going to miss you. And, his family and friends are really going to miss him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just tough. And unfortunately, we're all getting to that age now where we have to deal with this. And it's inevitable because Father Time's the only undefeated MFer out there. But, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Brooks, anything else you want to plug before we get off here?
Nope, I got nothing.
All right. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Sorry we had to end on such a sad note, but we got to talk about this kind of stuff because these people have influences in our lives, and it really sucks when these people have to when their time comes. So
I always say it every time. My favorite part about this podcast is I get to hang out with my friends. It's very therapeutic. It's cathartic. I love you both, and it was great hanging out with you guys over the weekend. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love you, buddy.
Good
Shouts
seeing
out
you
to
guys.
Sean Foy.
Yep. All right, boys. I'll see you later.
Cheers.
See you guys next time.